Steve was a veteran Minecraft player, exploring the blocky world since the game's earliest days. He had heard the legends of Herobrine, tales of a mysterious figure with glowing white eyes haunting unsuspecting players. Though intrigued by the stories, Steve dismissed them as a hoax. After all, Herobrine wasn't real, or so he thought. One night, Steve decided to revisit an old survival world he hadn't touched in years. The world was nostalgic. Rolling plains, a quaint wooden house he had built by a lake, and a minecart track leading to his sprawling mineshaft. He smiled as the familiar sights loaded in. But something was different. The first thing he noticed was the torches. Every single one in and around his house had been extinguished, leaving the interior dim. He checked his inventory to craft more, but all his coal was gone. Odd, but he figured it was a glitch. He headed out to chop some wood and craft charcoal. As he wandered the forest, something caught his eye. A 2x2 tunnel carved into the side of a hill. Steve didn't remember making it, but his memory of this world was foggy, so he assumed it was from years ago. He peered inside, but saw only darkness. Shrugging, he returned to his task. Minutes later, Steve noticed something unsettling. When he turned back toward his house, he saw a figure standing on the hill where the tunnel was. The figure had no name tag and no skin, just the default Steve model. Its glowing white eyes locked onto him for a moment before it vanished. Steve froze. He was playing single player. Determined to prove it was a trick of the light, he ran to the hill, sword in hand. The figure was gone, but the tunnel was different now, longer and leading deeper underground. Against his better judgment, he entered, placing torches along the way. The tunnel twisted and turned in unnatural ways, almost as if it had been hand-carved by someone or something. At the end of the tunnel, he found a single sign. It read, "Stop digging." A chill ran down Steve's spine. He hadn't placed this sign. He tried to destroy it, but the sign wouldn't break, no matter how many times he clicked. Then, behind him, he heard footsteps. He spun around, but the tunnel was empty. The torches he had placed were now flickering. The footsteps grew louder, approaching from all directions. Steve sprinted out of the tunnel, heart pounding. When he emerged, it was night, and his house was gone. In its place stood a new structure, a towering pillar of cobblestone and netherrack, flames licking at its base. Surrounding the pillar were dozens of crosses made of dirt and sand. Atop the pillar stood him, Herobrine, staring down at Steve with those piercing, glowing eyes. Steve tried to log out, but the button was grayed out. He hit escape, but the menu wouldn't open. Herobrine descended the pillar, moving towards Steve with unnatural speed. Panicking, Steve drew his sword, but as he swung, Herobrine vanished. Suddenly, the game chat began to fill with cryptic messages. "You shouldn't have come back. I've been waiting. Leave now, or suffer." Steve ran, hoping to outpace whatever was happening. But no matter how far he sprinted, the world began to degrade. Chunks disappeared, leaving endless voids behind. The sky turned red, and the sun froze in place. His hunger bar depleted rapidly, forcing him to stop and eat. As he opened his inventory, he noticed every slot was filled with one item, a carved pumpkin. Each one was labeled, "He sees you." Steve tossed the items, but they reappeared instantly. Then, his screen began to distort. Black and white pixels flickered across the screen, and a high-pitched hum blared through his headphones. Out of the corner of his eye, he saw Herobrine again, standing in the distance. But this time, there were more of him, clones, all identical, with glowing white eyes, slowly closing in on Steve from every direction. Desperate, Steve typed into the chat, "What do you want?" The response came instantly. "Your world." Before Steve could react, the screen froze. His player collapsed to the ground, the death message reading, "Herobrine has claimed you." The game kicked him back to the title screen, but the usual Minecraft logo was replaced with a single word, Herobrine. Steve deleted the world immediately. But as he sat in silence, staring at his desktop, he noticed something strange. A new folder had appeared, labeled, "Don't Come Back." Inside was a single file, a screenshot of Herobrine standing behind Steve in the tunnel, his glowing eyes staring directly into the camera.